Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a career path that seems, well, pretty straightforward from the outside. Successful internet product manager in Washington, D.C.
Right, but when you actually dig into the personal history, the source material, it's anything but smooth. It's messy, high stakes, a real roller coaster.
Exactly. So our mission today is really about insight. We're tracing this journey from high school onwards, and it's packed with, well, rebellion, some major academic mistakes.
And a surprising amount of just sheer luck, frankly, bureaucratic luck even. This is really for you, the learner, who gets that career plans aren't always neat.
Yeah, sometimes the best strategy gets totally wrecked by like one tiny detail you missed, or maybe how sometimes pure chaos actually leads somewhere interesting.
So let's set the scene. Our subject is in Shanghai. It's 2008. He's picked the chemistry track in high school.
But he admits his approach was all about efficiency. Get good grades, but with minimum effort possible. Studying wasn't his passion.
No, not at all. His real energy was going somewhere else entirely.
Music, right.
Music. This is what we're calling the high school paradox. Academically, he's doing fine, maybe even quite well. But his real investment, an external rock band.
And this wasn't just jamming on weekends. He said it got more intense in his final year, right when academics usually ramp up.
Exactly. And it shaped his whole persona, long hair, jewelry, the whole rebellious look, which you can imagine caused a bit of worry for parents and teachers.
Understandable. And that rebel attitude, it wasn't just superficial, was it? It hit his career thoughts, too. He actively rejected the family business, so to speak.
Totally rejected it. Both his parents were academics, professors in a university's architecture department.
Wow. So think about that. The built-in network, the resources, the potential mentorship. It was all right there.
All laid out for him. But he was, in his words, very resistant. And it wasn't some vague feeling. There was this one specific moment, an anecdote that really locked it in for him.
What was that?
He saw a neighbor, one of his parents' colleagues, leaving for their job at the Design Institute. And it was super early in the morning. The person looked absolutely drained.
Okay.
So he asked his parents about it, is that job really tough? And they just confirmed it. They said, yeah, it's very hard and crucially, didn't pay much.
So it wasn't about not liking buildings or design. It was the lifestyle.
Yeah.
The grind.
Precisely. The perceived grind. That image, that early morning exhaustion, that's when he apparently decided, and this is a direct quote, I would rather die than do that.
That's intense. But it sets a theme, right? This avoidance of what he saw as difficult, low-reward work. We'll see that pop up again later.
Definitely. So faced with that vision of architecture, he needed a different plan. He pivoted
towards
business and commerce, which, interestingly, his parents supported. Maybe they were just glad it wasn't, full-time rock and roll.
Oh, could be. Though he did mention they had some regrets, understandably, about him not using those architecture connections they had.
Yeah, those wasted resources. But the decision was made. He was aiming for business.
Okay, so he's got a new direction. But this is where things get really dramatic, isn't it? Let's move into section 2, the high-stakes application drama. The whole system was new that year.
It was. His group, the 2008 cohort in Shanghai, was the very first to use this new parallel application system.
And what did that mean exactly for listeners who aren't familiar?
It meant you had to list your ranked choices of universities and majors before you took the big college entrance exam, before you knew your score.
Wait, what? So you're locking in your future based purely on, practice exam scores and guesswork?
Pretty much, based on how you thought you'd do. No actual results yet.
Wow. Okay, that adds a massive layer of risk. Just huge pressure.
Immense pressure. And based on his mock exams, which were strong, he went for a really aggressive strategy.
Like what?
3 top choices: Shanghai International Studies, Nanjing University, University of International Business and Economics, all the big names, basically, and all targeting those competitive business or commerce majors.
Ambitious. Okay, so what was his safety net? His backup plan?
His 4th choice. Nanjing Pharmaceutical University seemed like a solid, if slightly random, fallback.
And this is where it all goes sideways, right?
This is the moment of sheer panic. He goes to actually submit his application choices, probably feeling pretty confident.
Yeah.
And he spots it. A single line, buried deep inside this massive, dense university application guidebook.
Oh, no. What did it say?
It said that the pharmacy major at Nanjing Pharmaceutical University did not accept students who had chosen chemistry as their high school science track.
And he had chosen chemistry.
He had chosen chemistry. His only backup plan was completely invalid.
Oh, my God. At the last minute. Like literally while submitting.
Pretty much. He called it a fatal mistake, absolute catastrophe, no time left to research alternatives, talk to counselors, nothing. Just pure panic.
So what did he do? He had to put something down, right?
He scrambled, called his parents in a panic, and basically said, look, I'm just putting your university down, X university.
Just random.
Almost randomly. He quickly filled the empty slots. He picked what was rumored to be the best major at the school, electronic communications. Then, almost as an afterthought, he added logistics management.
Why logistics?
That major was in the university's Sino-Foreign Joint Business College, and that college had a reputation for being a good pathway to studying overseas later. So he just threw it in. No real research, just filling the form.
Treating it like a complete throwaway backup, because his top choices were still the goal.
Exactly. Thinking, okay, disaster averted. Hopefully I'll get into one of the top 3 anyway.
But the drama wasn't over yet, was it? The exam itself had a twist.
Oh, yeah. The infamous dog blood exam twist. That's what they called it. Basically, it means something totally dramatic and unpredictable happened.
Which was?
That specific year, the exam administrators decided to adjust the scores. They lowered the value of the chemistry section results.
Which he took?
Right. And they artificially boosted the physics scores, probably to try and balance things out overall for the science track students.
So his score, which he thought was solid based on mocks, suddenly wasn't quite as strong as he'd expected.
Exactly. It pushed him down. He ended up only just clearing the minimum score threshold for those top-tier universities he'd aimed for. He was hanging on by a thread.
Oof. So did he get into any of his top 3?
No. And worse, when the results for his parents' university, X-university, came out, he found he'd missed the specific score requirements for both majors. He'd put down electronic communications and logistics management.
So he got rejected from everything he applied to.
It looked that way. He described the waiting period after that as very oppressive, huge tension at home. He was already researching second-tier colleges, thinking about how to transfer later.
What a nightmare after all that.
But then, the final twist, the bureaucratic deus ex machina, if you will.
Go on.
He found out later that he was actually accepted into the Sino-Foreign Business College at X University for logistics management, that throwaway choice.
How if he missed the score requirement?
Because they retroactively applied staff child bonus points to his application.
You're kidding. The very family connection he tried to distance himself from.
That's the one. The university policy gave a slight edge to children of faculty, and that tiny boost, applied after the fact, was just enough to push him over the line for that specific program.
Wow. That is unbelievable. So all his planning, his rebellion, his calculations, none of it mattered as much as this last-minute, almost accidental bureaucratic intervention.
Pretty much. Saved by the system he didn't even want to rely on, it really shows just how close he was to falling through the cracks entirely.
Okay, so he's in college, logistics management, but the consequences of this chaotic entry didn't just disappear, right?
Oh.
Tell us about Section 3, the undergraduate reality.
Right. So this Sino-Foreign Business College, despite sounding maybe a bit prestigious, wasn't on the main university campus.
Oh, where was it?
It was housed on a separate, much older campus, and he described the facilities, the hardware, as very poor compared to the new, modern main campus.
What does very poor mean in practical terms?
Well, for starters, the main campus had air conditioning in the dorms. His campus did not.
Ouch. In Shanghai, summers there are brutal, hot and humid.
Exactly. And it gets worse. There was only one bathhouse, a single communal bathhouse for the entire campus, and it was located quite far from the dorms.
So who is her?
You'd have a freezing cold walk back after showering. He mentioned people worrying about their wet hair literally freezing on the way back.
That sounds miserable. Did the summer situation get any better? No AC at all.
Worse, actually. Because of power usage rules or curfews, they often only had electricity for one small, oscillating fan per dorm room at night, shared between roommates.
How do they even sleep?
He described this coping mechanism. They take cold showers repeatedly through the night, like every 10 or 20 minutes.
Seriously?
Yeah, just to get damp, hoping the evaporation from the fan would provide some cooling effect for a few minutes before they had to go shower again.
That's incredibly rough. Just surviving the environment sounds like a full-time job.
It does. But what's interesting is how he approached it. Despite these really tough conditions, he didn't seem to get bogged down complaining. He kept that focus on efficiency.
The high cost-effectiveness thing again.
Exactly. He saw college, even this difficult version of it, as just a necessary step, a hurdle to overcome. His main goal was to maintain a GPA good enough to qualify for studying abroad later.
So he wasn't aiming for specific dream schools for his master's or anything?
No, not really. He said studying overseas felt more like a default expectation, something his parents had always sort of assumed would happen. So college was just about getting the grades needed for that next step, maximize the outcome, minimize the distraction, even if the distraction was, freezing walks or constant cold showers.
Get through it to get out.
Okay.
So that drive leads us to section 4, the career jumps. He finishes undergrad, heads to the U.S. for his master's.
He does. He pursued a master's in international marketing. And again, the motivation wasn't deep passion for marketing. He saw the degree primarily as a stepping stone.
A stepping stone to what?
To being able to find work and stay in the U.S. after graduating. That was the main objective.
Did the marketing degree actually work out as that stepping stone?
Not exactly. This turned out to be another one of those moments he later reflected on as a potential fatal mistake.
Why? What was wrong with marketing?
He found out pretty quickly that, for international students especially, landing a relevant job in the U.S. with a general marketing master's was incredibly difficult.
Really? Why is that?
Well, the sense he got and what he observed was that these programs can sometimes be a bit too general. Unless you came in with very specific prior skills or experience, it was hard to compete in the job market. He actually mentioned he could only think of one other person from his program who ended up in a directly related marketing field.
Wow. So the degree choice kind of backfired, similar to how the initial university application almost did?
Yeah, another plan based on perceived pathways that didn't quite match reality.
So how did he end up as an internet product manager in D.C.? That seems like quite a leap from struggling marketing grad. Was it another panicked scramble?
It seems more adaptive this time. Less panic, more pivot. The skills needed for product management, strong organization, efficiency, being able to communicate between different teams like tech and business, learning quickly.
Skills he probably honed surviving the Chinese academic system and all that application chaos.
Exactly. Those experiences likely made him pretty resilient and good at navigating complex situations. So he moved into this PM role. He focuses now on a specific subdomain of his company's website. A lot of his job involves being that bridge, translating between the technical folks and the business goals.
And here's the really interesting part, I think. The stability he's found now. Tell us about his current work life.
It's almost the complete opposite of that architecture life he desperately wanted to avoid as a teenager.
How so?
He works a very regular schedule, strictly 9 to 5, he says. Overtime is rare, like really rare. Only happens during huge projects, maybe a full website overhaul, which might happen only every few years.
So predictable.
Yeah.
Relaxed even.
He described his current status as ordinary and relatively relaxed. And a big part of that comes from tenure. He's been there since 2018.
So he's built up knowledge seniority.
Right. He knows the systems, knows the history, knows the people. He's become a key resource, the go-to person for certain things. Management likes him because he's reliable. He can solve problems efficiently.
He had that funny line, didn't he, about becoming friends with middle-aged women?
Yeah. He said he somehow became a friend to middle-aged women in management because he was the one who could understand and fix their technical issues or translate their needs to the engineering team.
It's fascinating. That original high school goal, avoiding the hard grind, aiming for high cost effectiveness, he actually achieved it. But not through clever shortcuts in school, but through stability, knowledge, and becoming indispensable in a large organization.
It really is the fulfillment of that core motivation, just realized in a completely unexpected domain.
Which brings us perfectly to his reflection. Section 5, looking back on this whole winding path, how does he see it?
He's remarkably candid, actually. He openly admits the journey was very alarming when he looks back. He points directly at those critical moments, the fine print mistake on the application, maybe the choice of marketing for his master's, and calls them fatal mistakes.
So does he feel regretful? Bitter about the close calls?
Not exactly regretful. His main takeaway, his synthesis of it all, is pretty striking. He attributes his success, the fact that he landed where he is, largely to very good luck.
Just pure luck.
That seems to be his honest assessment.
Yeah.
But it's coupled with this really strong philosophy about responsibility.
What do you mean?
He believes that even if luck played a huge role, and even though he made mistakes, adults have to own their choices. You make a decision, you live with the consequences. He actively avoids thinking, what if?
Like, if only I hadn't chosen chemistry, or if only I'd studied something else.
Exactly. He finds those kinds of thoughts completely meaningless. You deal with the path you're on, the one that resulted from your actions, and yes, from luck.
That's a powerful stance, acceptance and moving forward. So he could go back, knowing what he knows now, and give advice to that younger, rebellious, rock band self. What would it be?
It's simple but profound. Less arrogance, more patience.
Less arrogance about thinking you can game the system, perhaps.
Probably, and more patience, maybe realizing that building something solid, whether it's academic understanding or professional seniority, just takes time. You can't always shortcut your way there, despite his earlier focus on efficiency.
That makes sense. But there's one thread that runs through all this chaos and change, right from the beginning.
The music.
The music. That rock band from high school, he kept it going.
He did. He continued practicing, playing with the band, all through college, through grad school in the U.S., and even now, while working his 9 to 5 p.m. job in D.C.
Wow. So the thing that sparked the initial rebellion, the passion he chose over the expected path, that's the one constant.
It is. Those connections he made back in high school, fueled by that rebellious energy, they lasted. The music endured through all the pivots and near disasters.
So, summing up this whole journey, it's quite an arc. You've got this high-risk kid betting against his family, rejecting the conventional path.
Who then struggles through some really tough conditions, makes critical errors, gets saved basically by random chance and bureaucratic luck.
And somehow lands in this stable, comfortable professional life, completely different from what anyone might have predicted.
All while keeping that original passion, the music, alive the entire time. It wasn't about finding the perfect career, it was about navigating the detours.
It really challenges the idea that you need to optimize every single decision, doesn't it? His story suggests survival and adaptation might be just as important.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. We put so much pressure on ourselves, don't we? Trying to craft that perfect plan, avoid every mistake.
Yeah, the 5-year plan, the 10-year goal.
But what if there's real value in the mistakes? What about the resilience you gain from surviving a crisis, maybe even one you accidentally created through your own impatience or arrogance?
It makes you wonder, does luck play a bigger role than we admit? And maybe, just maybe, does luck tend to favor those who are already moving, taking risks, making some decision, even if it turns out wrong, rather than those who are waiting perfectly still for certainty?
Something to think about. Does just being in the game, making choices, increase your chances of eventually catching a lucky break?